Good afternoon, students, online students. Please check voice clear. Right. Okay. So today we are going to start with the current affairs for the topic of space technology. Please excuse my voice. I have a sore throat, so voice may sound a little different, but today we are going to start with space technology. Okay. There are a few important topics that are there that have been frequently asked that we are going to then we'll wind up. Right. So without wasting much time, let's begin with the first article. So the article talks about the space launches. So in space technology, before we start, let me just give you a brief idea. Space technology, there are very few things that are that have been asked. One is about the different space launches. The different space launches that exist. Then space launches, their objective, the launch vehicle, then the organization that is responsible for it. So that is one aspect in space. The second is about the universe in general. So when I say universe, what I am trying to emphasize on is the different celestial bodies that exist and the different phenomena. There are certain phenomena that exist in universe, something like, let's say, supernova, or something like, let's say, gravitational waves, or there is a phenomena known as, let's say, collision of two or more stars can result in release of gamma ray bursts. So there are several phenomena that exist in universe. So such phenomenon is one part, and the different celestial bodies that exist in the universe. So these are the two primary things that have to be emphasized while studying space technology for prelims point of view. मेंस में इसका बिल्कुल ऑब्जेक्टिव बदल जाता है, इसमें इन सब पे आपको फोकस करना. अब so the first article that we are starting with is LVM3 M6 mission. So first of all, the name suggests that LVM3 is the name of the launch vehicle. LVM3 is the name of the launch vehicle, and M6 is the number of mission. So it is a sixth mission, and hence it is M6. So LVM3, as you all know, the name stands for Launch Vehicle Mark III. Launch Vehicle Mark III. So Launch Vehicle Mark III is the name of the vessel. It is the most advanced launch vehicle of India, and it is considered to be the vehicle which is used to launch the most heaviest of all satellites. So the latest LVM3 M6 mission represents the sixth operational launch, and in which it has launched Bluebird Block 2 satellite, which belongs to USA and to a private company of USA known as AST Space Mobile. So AST Space Mobile is a private space company of USA which has manufactured a satellite. The name of the satellite is Bluebird Block 2 satellite, and it has been launched by India. India provides this commercial service to the Americans of the manufacturing of the satellite is done by America, but the launching is done by India. So if America does not want to launch and save itself, it can just rent out the service of India. So the idea that in India, who is responsible for getting together the commercial activities of ISRO, so bringing in all the different business from private sector and foreigners with respect to the commercial activities of ISRO, there is a body within ISRO known as NSIL, that is New Space India Limited. New Space India Limited is the body of ISRO which is responsible for organizing the commercial activities of ISRO. Similarly, when we want to increase the privatization, if I want to increase the privatization in space, privatization of space sector, the privatization of space sector is the responsibility of another body known as InSpace. So there are two different bodies within ISRO. One is NSIL, another is InSpace. InSpace is responsible for privatization of space. That means any space activity where ISRO is not involved. Any space activity of India where ISRO is not involved, that business will be dealt by InSpace. Any space activity where ISRO is involved but commercial, other countries require that service, commercial angle is there, that business is taken care by NSIL. And any space activity of India which is done by ISRO, that is done by ISRO itself. The different bodies within ISRO like Satish Dhawan Space Satellite Center is going to launch, Equal Propulsion Space Center is going to make the fuel, like UR Rao Satellite Center is going to manufacture a satellite, something like that. The whole ISRO is responsible for launching satellites. So you need to know the difference between NSIL and InSpace. Now, moving ahead, the launch took place from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh, commercial partnership between NSIL and ASST Space Mobile. NSIL was established in 2019 as a wholly owned government enterprise under Department of Space, functions as the commercial arm of ISRO. Now, if you have read, you may also know that before NSIL was formed, there was another commercial arm of ISRO which was responsible for bringing in business, which was known as Antariksh Corporation. Now Antariksh Corporation no longer exists. Antariksh Corporation has been succeeded by NSIL and InSpace. Earlier the body was in 1992, we had formed a body known as Antariksh Corporation. Now what is, let us understand about the satellite which has been launched. It says it is a global low Earth orbit satellite, and it is responsible for direct satellite to mobile connectivity. So it is a communication satellite and it is a lower Earth orbit satellite. Lower Earth orbit satellite means that it has been situated at an altitude of not 1000 but less than 2000 kilometers. Any satellite placed at an altitude less than 2000 kilometers is considered to be a lower Earth orbit. What is the aim of the satellite? The aim of the satellite is to support services such as 4G and 5G, voice calls, video communication, the internet connectivity satellite. The key feature of the satellite is that it has a large phased array antenna spanning about this much meter square, making it the largest commercial communication satellite deployed in LEO. So USA has successfully manufactured the largest commercial satellite, largest commercial communication satellite has been manufactured by USA, which has been placed in lower Earth orbit. The name of the satellite is Bluebird Block 2. It also represents the heaviest payload carried by LVM-3, which has about 6100 kg. Let us talk about the satellite launch vehicle. LVM-3 launch vehicle. So it is a three-stage rocket. It is a three-stage rocket. We have solid, we have liquid, we have cryogenic. Okay. So the lowermost, the first stage is solid, which is S200. What is the solid fuel? Solid fuel is HTPB plus N2O4. HTPB acts as the fuel and N2O4 acts as the oxidizer. What is the liquid propellant? That is the second stage. The liquid propellant is UDMH. UDMH plus NO2. So that is the liquid propellant. And cryogenic upper stage is nothing but, we all know, liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Okay. So these are the name of the different fuels that you can remember. Cryogenic engine is also called Vikas engine. Yes. So ISRO has already developed Vikas engine, a variant of Vikas engine. Not all Vikas engine are cryogenic. A variant of Vikas engine is considered as cryogenic. Okay. Sorry. No, in semi-cryogenic we use refined kerosene and liquid oxygen. So if you talk about the fuels, cryogenic is liquid hydrogen plus liquid oxygen. Semi-cryogenic is refined kerosene plus liquid oxygen. Similarly, ISRO has also developed green fuels. ISRO has developed green fuels, that is liquid methane plus liquid oxygen. Liquid methane plus liquid oxygen. Okay? So these three different fuels you can remember. What is nanoluciferase fragmentation? Nanoluciferase fragmentation we will study at some other time. Today we are going to focus on space technology. What is the difference between GEO and LEO satellites, sir? GEO and LEO is basically based on altitude. GEO is placed at 35786 kilometers from surface. LEO is less than 2000 kilometers from surface. That is the only difference. Okay. Moving ahead. So the LVM3 is a 3-stage rocket with these are the different fuels: solid, liquid and cryogenic. The rocket has a lift-off mass of this many tons and it can place a payload of about this much kg into GTO, that is geosynchronous transfer orbit. GTO is an elliptical orbit with an altitude of about 37,000 kilometers. Please remember, geosynchronous orbit. There are three types of orbit. This is geostationary orbit. Then we have geosynchronous orbit. Then we have geosynchronous transfer orbit. Okay. Now, what you need to remember is that both geosynchronous and geostationary are at 35786 kilometers. Exactly this height is there. This is written approximately equal to 36,000 kilometers. Okay, no issues. The only difference is that geostationary is at equator, above equator, whereas geosynchronous is at any other angle. Whereas geosynchronous transfer orbit is above 36,000 kilometers. It is approximately at 37,000 kilometers and it is responsible for either moving up or down of the satellite. if the satellite has to move, has to jump up or has to jump down, then we use geosynchronous transfer orbit, which is at 37,000 kilometers. From there we can make it further go up, or from there we can make it come down. So that is the purpose of geosynchronous transfer orbit, which is at 37,000 kilometers. Now coming back, so GTO, that is geosynchronous transfer orbit, is an elliptical orbit at an altitude of this much kilometers and is responsible for transferring spacecraft to geostationary or geosynchronous orbit. LVM-3 has previously been used for following missions like Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3, launch of OneWeb satellites, in which 36 satellites have been launched in one attempt. Such 2 satellites have been used, 2 launches have been done, therefore 72 launches have been made. So a practice question for LVM-3M6, it says that Bluebird Block 2 satellites are designed to provide direct satellite to mobile connectivity from lower Earth orbit, enabling services such as 4G and 5G. True, there is no problem here. Geosynchronous transfer orbit is a circular orbit at approximately 36,000 kilometers altitude, where satellites remain fixed relative to a point on Earth's surface. This is wrong. It is an elliptical orbit and it is at 37,000 kilometers. Therefore, this statement is wrong. A, only 1 is the right answer. Very good. Geosynchronous is 36. What I am saying is geosynchronous transfer orbit. It is a transfer orbit. That is why it is at 37,000 kilometers. That is what I have told you here, no? So geosynchronous transfer orbit is approximately at 37,000 kilometers, which is responsible for only transferring the satellite from one point to the other. Next satellite is about GSAT-7R satellite. GSAT-7R. So GSAT-7R is a new name of CMS. CMS is Communication Satellite Series. Communication Satellite Series. What is NISAR? NISAR, we will understand NISAR just a minute. Yes, GSAT-7R series. So the GSAT-7R is again launched by LVM-3. It is India's most operational rocket. If I talk about what is the mission, GSAT-7R reflects Indian Navy's effort for maritime security and safeguarding national interest through advanced satellite communication. Here, what you need to understand is that GSAT-7R satellite belongs to GSAT-7 series. 7 series is for defense communication satellites only. So please understand that GSAT-7 satellite, whatever satellites are launched in GSAT-7, they are specifically for defense communication purpose only. So before that, we can also see that there are several other satellites that are launched. For example, we have GSAT-7, which was known as Rukmani. It was launched in 2013 and it was used by Indian Navy. It was used by Indian Navy for communication purposes. Similarly, GSAT-7A, also known as Angry Bird. So GSAT-7 is known as Rukmani, GSAT-7A is known as Angry Bird, launched in 2018, again used for Indian Air Force. Similarly, we have for Indian Army 7B, which is yet to be launched. It is still under planning stage. So what you need to remember is that in GSAT-7 series, which is for defense communication purposes, we have already launched 2 satellites, that is 7 and 7A. 7 is for Indian Navy, known as Rukmani. 7A is for Indian Air Force, known as Angry Bird. In that series, 7C is also going to be launched. 7C is also going to be launched. It is still under development stage and it will be used for Indian Air Force. But what we have already launched is GSAT-7R. 7R will be used by Indian Navy. It will be used by Indian Navy for maritime operations. This is used for replacing GSAT-7R is used for replacing the GSAT-7 Rukmani satellite. We have already launched Rukmani satellite. To replace that, we are going to launch GSAT-7R satellite. The satellite will be initially placed in a GTO orbit, that is transfer orbit, and then it will come back to geostationary orbit, which is at an altitude of 35786 kilometers. It will be placed above the Indian Ocean region and will have the area coverage of about 2000 kilometers. Then 7R will be used by Indian Navy for maritime domain awareness, secure communication links between Navy ships, submarine aircraft, maritime command centers. GSAT-7R series. Yes, GSAT-7R is part of India's GSAT-7 series for defense communication satellites intended primarily to enhance maritime communication. Yes, true. Satellites placed in geostationary orbit remain fixed relative to a point on Earth because they orbit the planet in a circular path at an altitude of about this much kilometers with the same rotational period as Earth. It's also true that any satellite which is placed in geostationary orbit at this much kilometers, it will have same rotational period as that of the Earth. That means Earth and the satellite will complete the rotation in the same time. GSAT-7R satellite was directly inserted in geostationary orbit by LVM-3 during launch phase. No, it was first placed in GTO and then it was brought to GEO. So that is one thing that you need to remember. That is third statement is wrong. That is A. 1 and 2 becomes the right answer. So that is about GSAT-7R satellite. Next article that we are going to discuss is about analog mission. India's analog experiments for space missions. Analog, the word analog means an alternative or pseudo. So instead of having a real time mission, what scientists do is scientists carry out an analog mission. Analog is rather than launching in the space, we create space like situations on the Earth. We use those situations to train our astronauts. That is known as an analog mission. That is an alternative to real time space environment. We create an alternative environment on Earth which is very much similar to that of the space. Indian research institutions are carrying out a series of analog experiments to carry out the development of astronaut training systems. These studies aim to define psychological selection standards and prepare astronauts to manage challenges such as isolation, stress, and teamwork. These experiments provide groundwork for India's human spaceflight procedures. So India is going to launch a mission known as Gaganyaan, in which humans will be launched and will be there for about 5 to 7 days in the space. So during that time, how to handle isolation, stress, and teamwork in confined environments. That is how we are going to prepare our astronauts using analog mission. They help prepare astronauts for upcoming missions like Gaganyaan. Additionally, they simulate various activities that astronauts are expected to perform during that actual space mission. वो स्पेस में जाके क्या एक्टिविटी करेंगे उसकी ट्रेनिंग उनको पहले से एनालॉग मिशन में दे दी जाती है by creating a similar atmosphere in the on the Earth itself. So a similar analog mission has been launched by India known as GANEX. What is GANEX? Gaganyaan Analog Experiment. What happens here is that including India's astronaut designates. So India has chosen 4 astronaut designates, the 4 Indian Air Force officers who are going to be trained for Gaganyaan mission. We know one of them, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, has already went to International Space Station, and similarly we have 3 other Indian Air Force officers. stay inside confined crew models designed to replicate conditions similar to that of the space. Yandex 1, the first experiment was conducted in July 2025, where participants remained in isolation for 10 days and carried out 11 different experiments. Then what were the challenges? The challenges were inability to recreate microgravity conditions. India could not create microgravity conditions. NASA has created parabolic flight experiments in which microgravity weightlessness can be experienced. But India has given other things, lack of air, temperature, such kind of activities. But India has not been able to create microgravity experiments. What is the objectives or what are the learnings? Aim to develop detailed astronaut protocols and prepare crews for unexpected events during space mission. They provide insight into how individuals psychologically and physiologically change in space. These studies contribute to improving medical preparedness and psychological training for astronauts. So, in case of India, Indian Council of Medical Research is playing an important role in formulating psychological screening methods and nutritional guidelines for astronauts. That they are, yes, there are 4 crew members for Gaganyaan mission. So, in India, there is Hope Habitat, which is in Ladakh itself. So, Hope Habitat in Ladakh, that is Hope Habitat has been used to replicate Martian-like conditions. So, the surface of the Mars has been replicated in the experiment of Hope, that is in Ladakh. That is, the terrain in Ladakh is very much similar to the terrain of Mars, that is the mountainous and the hilly region and dry and lack of any vegetation and extreme temperatures can be found in Ladakh, which are also seen in Martian surface. So, to train the astronauts who might go to Mars on some day, they will be trained on Hope experiment in Ladakh. Talking about India's analog experiments for space missions. Gaganyaan analog experiments GANEX simulate microgravity conditions on Earth through parabolic flight trajectories similar to those used by NASA. India is unable to produce parabolic flight trajectories and is unable to create microgravity experiments. Then we have analog missions such as Ladakh Human Analog and Hope Habitat are conducted to replicate extreme planetary environments and study physiological and psychological responses of astronauts. True, there is no problem. Therefore, correct answer is B, 2 only. Able to follow? Moving ahead with the next article, that is NASA's CHAPEA project. NASA's CHAPEA project. So here it says the full form of CHAPEA is Crew Health and Performance Exploration Analog. Similarly, like India has an analog mission, USA also has. Shukryan mission is not an analog experiment. Shukryan mission is the mission that of ISRO, which is going to be launched nearing 2030, 2028 with the objective to go to Shukryan, that is Venus. So Shukryan mission is to go to Venus. It is not an analog experiment, it is a real experiment, it is a Venus orbiter mission. Coming to CHAPEA, that is Crew Health and Performance Exploration and Analog Program. Like India has its own analog program, USA has also launched analog mission, that is CHAPEA mission, in which the project involves analog mission that replicates conditions for astronauts on the red planet, that is Mars. So India ka red mission is red planet analog mission is Hope Habitat. USA ka red planet analog mission is known as CHAPEA project. 4 participants living inside CHAPEA Habitat, a 3D printed structure spanning approximately this much square feet. This initiative forms part of NASA broader preparations The primary aim is to study the physical and psychological impacts. Same, all those things are same. What was the challenge? One of the most significant challenges, the duration of the journey, as a single trip of Mars could take 6 to 9 months. तो 6 से 9 महीने लगेंगे पहुंचने में. वो जो time period है, that is 6 to 9 months of space time, that has not been replicated here. Obstacles include ensuring reliable life support systems, managing logistics for food and supplies, maintaining crew health throughout the mission. For the first time, humans are going to stay on Mars. For that, a reliable life support system is required, and how long can they survive? Mars' extreme thin atmosphere also makes spacecraft landing complex because it offers limited atmosphere drag to slow down the incoming vehicle. So there is no air friction. Since there is no air friction because of very thin atmosphere, therefore it becomes difficult for the satellites to land on Mars surface. Additionally, large distance between Earth and Mars can cause communication delay for up to 20 minutes. क्योंकि distance इतना ज़्यादा है, so the radio waves will take some time to travel. They might take 20 minutes to reach the surface of the Mars. Therefore, any communication between the astronauts and the ground station might lag or might be delayed for about 20 minutes, which can be dangerous during the times of crisis. There is, let's say, some asteroid going to hit, or there is some volcano, or there is some kind of solar flare or solar wind going to attack Mars. Then in such cases, the communication between Earth and the Mars will take about a delay of 20 minutes. So about NASA's CHAPEA mission, consider the following statements. CHAPEA is an Earth-based analog mission designed to simulate long-duration human habitation on Mars, including tasks like scientific experiments, habitat maintenance, and simulated extravehicular activities. Yes, everything is correct in this. Next, one of the major operational challenges for human missions to Mars arises from the planet's dense atmosphere, which generates excessive drag during spacecraft entry and landing. This is absolutely opposite. It has thin atmosphere, which makes the landing difficult. Therefore, second statement is wrong. Answer is A, 1 only. Tick. Moving ahead with NASA's GRAIL mission. Next article is about NASA's GRAIL mission. NASA's GRAIL mission is Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory. Mission. So in this mission, the difference between moon's near side and far side has been observed. So a new mission has been launched by NASA. This has been way before. The GRAIL mission ended in 2012, but the information that was collected has been analyzed now. So after analyzing the information, the GRAIL mission says that there is a difference between the near side of the moon and the far side of the moon. First of all, we should be remembering that moon always faces the earth on the same side. So if we have earth and there is moon that is revolving around the earth, what you need to remember is that it is always the same side that is always going to face the earth no matter what position, because the rotation speed and the revolution speed of the moon is exactly the same. That means the time taken by the moon to revolve around earth and the time taken by the moon to rotate around earth is exactly the same. Therefore, it is only the same side of the moon that is always facing the earth. अगर moon same rotation और same revolution से move करेगा तो exactly same side of the moon हमेशा अर्थ को दिखती रहेगी, क्योंकि अर्थ को हमेशा सेम साइड दिखती रहेगी. Therefore, what it says is that there is a permanent astronomical phenomena that is observed that is the difference between the front side and the back side of the moon. That is difference between the near side and the far side of the moon. What is the difference? Data on the mission showed that the moon's interior is not symmetrical. The near side has which permanent faces Earth, relatively warmer and geologically active mantle. Earth's gravitational pull causes moon to experience tidal deformation. The near side exhibits greater flexing and hotter mantle, supporting the theory of thermal imbalance within the moon. तो moon के अंदर जो heat है, that is imbalance. Much of it is concentrated towards the near side, that is the side that is facing the earth, and the side that is away, the far side, is considered to be more cooler. There is volcanic activity. Historical volcanic activity on the near side resulted in the accumulation of radioactive heat producing elements such as thorium and titanium. This led to the formation of excessive bare plains near side, and far side has rough and elevated highlands. क्योंकि बहुत बार वॉल्केनो निकला है तो एरिया प्लेन हो गया है, लेकिन फार साइड में कोई वॉल्केनो निकला ही नहीं है तो वो अभी भी माउंटेनियस है. नियर साइड में वॉल्केनो निकला है क्यों है? क्योंकि देयर इज अ कंसिस्टेंट अर्थ का ग्रेविटेशनल पुल. Improved gravitational mapping. The mission produced the most detailed gravitational map on the moon so far, which will assist the planning and executing future lunar missions. The mission, so this will help, this will allow the different organizations, different space organizations like ISRO, like NASA, like ESA, like Canadian, all such space, JAXA, all such space organizations will be benefited once the mapping of the surface, mapping of the moon surface is completed. More accurate gravitational maps can improve navigation, landing accuracy and operational safety. The findings also emphasize the moon's broader role in stabilizing Earth's rotational dynamics and influencing ocean tides. तो मून का सरफेस स्टडी करने से अर्थ की ओशंस पे जो टाइड पे फर्क पड़ेगा, दैट कैन ऑल्सो बी अंडरस्टूड. So talking about gravity recovery and interior laboratory mission, data from the mission suggested that the lunar near side mantle is relatively hotter and more deformable than far side, indicating thermal instability or asymmetry within the moon. This is the right statement. The spacecraft of GRAIL mission were placed in geostationary orbit around the moon to obtain a stable gravitational map of the lunar surface. Now please understand that the GRAIL, so if this is Earth and we have to place a satellite moon, and for studying moon we place a satellite on the moon known as GRAIL. Now GRAIL will not be placed at the highest altitude as 36,000 kilometers. GRAIL will be placed in lower Earth orbit for better images. Since it is observing the moon satellite, it is a remote sensing satellite, therefore it will be placed in lower Earth orbit and not at the higher or geostationary Earth orbit. Therefore it is placed at geostationary Earth orbit is a wrong statement. Therefore A, only one becomes the right answer. Next mission or the next article is about Axiom 4 mission. In Axiom 4 mission, what we say is that the Indian astronaut group captain Shubhanshu Shukla has reached the International Space Station. International Space Station does not belong to any one country. It is a combined effort of USA, Roscosmos, NASA, Roscosmos, JAXA, and the NASA, Canadian Space Agency. So it is a combined effort of these 5 space stations which have formed ISRO. That is American, Russian, Japanese, European and Canadian. Axiom 4 represents the fourth crewed mission of ISS to the ISS by Axiom Space. What is Axiom Space? Axiom Space is a private, it is the first private it is world's first private space mission. It is Axiom is the world's first private space mission. So Axiom 1 marked the first entirely private astronaut mission of the US. Axiom 2 took Saudi Arabia's first female astronaut. Axiom 3 took Turkish first astronaut and first European Space Agency's astronaut. Axiom 4 took Indian, Polish and Hungarian scientists to the ISS. So in this mission, Shubhanshu Shukla acted as the mission pilot. NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson acted as the mission commander. Then Hungarian astronaut Polish astronaut acted as the assistant on the mission. Similarly, Tibor Kapu from Hungary also acted as the assistant in the mission. What has ISRO contributed in Axiom 4 mission? ISRO will study the microgravity related studies. These include examining the effects of space conditions on human health, such as physical and cognitive responses, computer screen exposure, and skeletal muscle degradation. The experiments will also investigate the growth of plants and crop seed germination under microgravity conditions, so that in future they can grow crops in the space and become self-reliant. The mission highlights the objective of growing international cooperation in space research. It involves collaboration between ISRO, NASA and European Space Agency. Axiom 4 mission. Axiom 4 mission is privately organized crewed mission to the ISS led by Axiom Space Group Captain this serving as the mission pilot. This is the right statement, there is no problem. All previous Axiom missions to the ISS were conducted exclusively with astronauts from government space agencies and did not include any private astronauts. This is a wrong statement, because we have already seen Axiom 2 took Saudi Arabia's first female astronaut and Turkish first astronaut to the Axiom 1 was the world's first entirely private astronaut mission. So it is not always government space agency. Therefore, second statement is wrong. A1 only becomes the right answer. That is about Artemis Accords. Artemis, okay. Axiom mission is also part of Artemis Accords. Axiom mission is also part of Artemis Accords. These are the members of Artemis Accords. Bangladesh has become the 54th country in 2025 to sign the Artemis Accords, which have been launched by USA. What is Artemis Accords? It was launched in 2020 with the objective of exploring space for civil sector, civil purposes, and not for violence or war. The accords are built upon the principles of Outer Space Treaty of 1967 and function as a non-binding set of guidelines aimed at encouraging transparency and cooperation. The framework emphasizes the space exploration should be conducted for peaceful purposes and the space should not be used for any weapons or any kind of war. What are the different activities? The civil space activities related to Moon, Mars, comets and asteroids are studied in case of Artemis Accords for civilian purposes only. They can be placed at language points or any other position where the earth which can be used by the humans for violence. So instead of violence, Artemis Accords promotes the peaceful activities of the space. For this, we also have an international treaty of outer space, treaty of 1967. It is known as Treaty on Principles Governing the Activities of States in Exploration Use of Outer Space. It is one of the most important international agreements governing outer space activities under United Nations. As of 2025, the treaty has 115 parties and 22 countries have signed but yet not ratified the agreement. Talking about Artemis Accords, are legally binding international treaty under United Nations that regulates commercial extraction and resources from the moon and celestial bodies. It is not a legally binding treaty. We have understood that it is a non-binding set of guidelines under outer space treaty. It also applies to Artemis Accords based on the principle of outer space treaty applies to civil space activities on the celestial bodies such as moon, Mars, comets and asteroids. This is the right statement. First is the wrong statement. Therefore, D2 only is the right answer. SpaceX space mission. Yes. Before that, we will also study NISAR mission. So, if I tell you about NISAR mission, it is nothing but NASA, ISRO, synthetic aperture radar. Synthetic aperture radar. So in this mission, it is again a remote sensing. It is a remote sensing satellite. It is a remote sensing satellite, comma, Earth observation satellite. So in 2025, ISRO launched using LVM-3. ISRO launched the NISAR satellite using LVM-3. The radars were given by the NASA. The radars were given by the NASA, and it can provide for better pictures of the Earth even in cloudy areas. So that is about NISAR mission. Then we also have something known as SpadeX mission. So SpadeX mission is nothing but space docking experiment. Space docking experiment. In space docking experiment, what happens is that in the space, two or more satellites combine with each other. Combine with each other. Combine with each other. This SpadeX is going to help in building Bharatiya Antariksh Station. The Bharatiya Antariksh Station will be built only when different parts of the satellite is going to be transported in the space, and each part of the satellite is going to dock, is going to combine with each other. Therefore, building a Bharatiya Antariksh Station. Before Bharatiya Antariksh Station can be built, we have launched SpadeX mission in which two satellites were launched and they were docked. They docked together or they combined together in 2024. That is about the SpadeX mission. Coming back to our next article, that is about Tianwen mission. That is about Tianwen mission. Tianwen mission, China is preparing to launch its first asteroid sample return mission, that is Tianwen 2 mission. So asteroid sample return, that means there is an asteroid that is coming towards the Earth, and it is responsible, the mission is responsible for landing on the asteroid, landing on the asteroid, comma, extracting sample from the asteroid and then flying back and coming back to the Earth. That is what is asteroid return mission of China, that is known as Tianwen-2. The name of the asteroid is this 469219 Camellia is a near Earth asteroid that travels around the Sun in orbit close to the Earth. The China is going to extract resources how? Using touch and go sampling method or anchor and attach approach. So the mission seeks to deepen scientific knowledge about asteroids, and it will become the third country in the world. China will become the third country in the world after USA and Japan, which has retrieved asteroid samples and brought them back to the Earth. अभी तक और किसी ने नहीं किया है, इंडिया ने भी नहीं किया है, वर्ल्ड में सिर्फ दो कंट्रीज ने किया है, दैट इज USA and Japan. The third country will be China. What is about this asteroid? Is a small asteroid classified as quasi-satellite of the Earth. What is the quasi-satellite of the Earth? Satellite of the Earth is any object that is revolving around the Earth. Quasi-satellite means it is not revolving around the Earth, but for some time it comes into the path of Earth and it starts revolving around the Earth for temporary period of time. Therefore, it is known as a quasi-satellite. This asteroid is trying to this asteroid over a period of time, researchers estimate that it has been moving around this orbit for about 100 years and is going to move for another 300 years. So अगले 300 साल तक it is going to revolve around the sun only, but in revolving around the sun it is also revolving around the Earth. Therefore, it is considered as quasi-satellite of the Earth. Other countries have also launched some exploration missions apart from China. NASA has launched something known as Artemis lofted mission, which helps again the USA to bring back the samples from Camellia asteroid back to the Earth. Because of its proximity to the Earth, relatively stable orbit, asteroid is considered promising candidate for future robotic sample returning missions. With reference to the Tianwen mission and asteroid Camellia, consider the following statements. Tianwen-2 aims to collect samples from the near Earth orbit, near Earth asteroid Camellia using techniques such as touch and go and anchor and attach technology. Camellia is classified as natural satellite of the Earth that orbits the planet directly rather than the sun. So natural satellite is the wrong statement. It is considered as a quasi satellite. Okay, so quasi satellite. So second statement is wrong, first statement is right. Therefore, first statement is right. Therefore, A only one is the right answer. Moving ahead with the next statement, that is next article, that is LUPEX mission. LUPEX mission is going to be India's next Chandrayaan 5, that is next lunar mission of India, that is lunar polar exploration mission. LUPEX is going to be launched. Another name for LUPEX mission is Chandrayaan 5, where India, which is going to be formed by together India and Japan. Now again, the aim before the setting the objective, we understand Chandrayaan 1, 2 and 3. Chandrayaan 1 launched in 2008 was the first lunar mission and was only for orbiting around the moon. It never landed on the moon. But Chandrayaan 2 attempted to, it had lander also, it had rover also. So it attempted to land on the moon, but it was unsuccessful and the lander and rover both got destroyed. Chandrayaan 3 recently, India became the first country in the world to land or to have a soft landing near the south pole of the moon. The first country to land on the south pole of the moon became India, and this was basically to overcome the Chandrayaan 2 mission. So Chandrayaan 3 mission was launched. Next, in 2027, we are going to launch Chandrayaan 4 mission, in which we are going to collect the samples and bring them back from the moon. So it is again a lunar return mission. So that is about Chandrayaan 4. Now what we are going to study is the objective of Chandrayaan 5, which says that the mission aims to carry out in-depth study of moon's south polar regions, particularly focusing on water ice deposits, whether the ice deposits that are there on the south pole of the moon are there of any benefit or not. The mission duration is about for 3.5 months. There will be lander and rover. The lander, ISRO is responsible for developing the lander, and Japan is responsible for building the rover. That is, lander is the instrument that is going to land on the surface of the moon, and rover is the instrument that is going to move on the surface of the moon. So lander is going to be developed by ISRO, whereas rover is going to be developed by Japan. That is why ISRO and Japan have collaborated together. Okay. So one question about LUPEX is, LUPEX mission is a collaborative lunar mission between India and Japan aimed at investigating water ice deposits in the moon's south polar region, with lander being developed by ISRO and rover being developed by JAXA. This is absolutely correct statement. Please remember, they can switch the countries, lander by Japan and rover by ISRO. That will be false. Lander is by ISRO and rover is by JAXA. Chandrayaan 3 achieved soft landing near moon's south pole and successfully deployed both lander and rover to conduct surface experiments. This is also true. Chandrayaan 4, planned for launch in late 2020s, aims to replace long-term lunar orbiter moon to study its atmosphere and magnetic field. It is a sample retrieving, sample collection and bringing back mission. So it is not for atmosphere and magnetic field, it is for surface. Therefore third statement is wrong. Therefore A, 1 and 2 is the right answer. So that is there. We have further multiple articles, but because of the problem in my voice, I am unable to speak further. Therefore I am going to submit the handouts, and the handouts will be shared to you. Today we are going to conclude this class at this point itself. I am not able to extend this further, and this will be the last class of our science and technology current affairs. The handouts will be distributed to you on your respective groups. So till then, I wish you all the very best, and I suggest that you keep on practicing and revising your basic concepts so that you are able to clear your prelims examination. Focus on the static and not focus more on the static, so that even the current affairs part can be handled by your static knowledge. Not more than 10 to 15 questions are coming from current affairs. Rest all can be covered by your static knowledge. So please focus on your static knowledge. Keep them revising and keep them making strong. Till then, all the very best. Thank you.